Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. Yet another episode of Crushing Fantasy Football. I am Bryce Lockridge, your host of the show. All right, guys, today, obviously, I'm mixing it up, doing something a little bit different, bringing you guys a podcast from outside. And I really just wanted to get outside and enjoy the weather. It's a gorgeous day here. And so, yeah, I really just wanted to get outside and do something a little bit different. Anyway, I hope the picture's clear. So today, I am going to be getting at you guys with 3 keys to winning your fantasy league. Now, the first key on my list is going to be something that I pretty much stress every year, but I want to stress the importance of it this year even more, and that is to avoid drafting quarterbacks early. Now, the temptation to draft early quarterbacks is there more so now than it's ever been, because quarterback is actually a more important position than it's really ever been in fantasy, because these quarterbacks have ridiculously high ceilings now due to their extreme rushing upside, guys like Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen. But the fact of the matter is, you can still wait on quarterbacks and get quarterbacks with the same potential upside and that have a very likely chance to actually have just as good of a season as the quarterback that you take early. For example, like if you take Josh Allen or Pat Mahomes, a lot of times you're going to have to take him in the second or third round and your second or third overall pick in the draft. And you're missing out on valuable running backs and wide receivers by wasting those picks. Whereas you can wait on guys like Justin Fields, Justin Herbert, Deshaun Watson. Guys like this all have the same upside as Josh Allen or Pat Mahomes. Now, Pat Mahomes is, he's a guarantee pretty much. You know that he's going to go off, but these other guys are as well. I'm telling you, Justin Herbert's season last year was an absolute fluke due to his injury. He was second in the league in passing yards and finishes the quarterback 11. Come on, guys. This dude is due for a huge bounce back as far as overall fantasy output. Justin Fields, I think, has a legitimate chance to be the quarterback 1. And we know how good Deshaun Watson is, and he's playing in a far better system than he's ever been in. So there are so many options at quarterback where you can wait till later in the draft and get a quarterback that's just as good as Josh Allen or Pat Mahomes. In that case, you don't have to, necessarily waste an early pick. So even though quarterback's more valuable than it's ever been, and even though the temptation is there, and I totally get it, it's still better to wait on a quarterback and draft running backs and wide receivers early and draft the quarterback a little bit later. Next on my list is I really want you guys to, when it comes to your entire roster outlook, right? I want you guys to, at least in a few of the leagues that you play in, try to stack an entire offense. For example, take a wide receiver, a tight end, and a quarterback that are all in the same offense, or a wide receiver, a running back, and a quarterback that are all in the same offense, and try to stack the entire offense and go all in on that one offense. What this does is it pretty much ensures your success if that offense happens to be good. So some offenses that I think have a really good outlook this year are like the Chargers and Jacksonville Jaguars, right? If you take 3 players in that offense and stack them all on your one same fantasy roster, these offenses have a very high likelihood, if they avoid injury, to be hyper efficient offenses. So it's pretty much impossible for your fantasy team to bust stacking these offenses as long as the players stay healthy. Now, if you went with this strategy last year with the Chargers, obviously it kind of bit you. So there's some risk, but there's injury risk even if you draft players from, different teams to fill all your roster spots. So what stacking offenses does is it allows you to really capitalize on an offense if that offense happens to function at an elite level, like the Chargers and Jacksonville Jaguars are very likely to do. So I would stack these offenses, guys, because I think that really gives you a chance to have a high likelihood that your team pops off. At the end of the day, if you're in a 10-man league, you technically only have a 10% chance to win your league anyway. Whereas I swear there's at least a 50% chance that stacking the Jacksonville or Chargers offense will lead to your team being hyper efficient. So I would stack offenses in at least a couple of your leagues. I wouldn't do it in all your leagues, but at least give this a try in 1 or 2 of your leagues because it can be very beneficial for you. Next and final thing on my list, and my last topic kind of leads into this, is I want you guys to play in multiple leagues. Please try to play in a minimum of 5 leagues. Okay, playing in just one league is just sort of setting yourself up for failure. Okay, and I know that we all play fantasy football because we feel like we have an edge on who we're playing against, and so we have a good chance to win the league and win money, right? But no matter how good you are at fantasy football, if you're playing in one league, you're leaving yourself open to just way too much risk. There are injuries, there's underperformance. Every fantasy expert last year told you to take Jonathan Taylor at the 101. He was a consensus 101. If you didn't take Jonathan Taylor with the 101, that's a stupid pick. That was pretty much the mindset going into last year's draft. And what happened? Jonathan Taylor ended up being a huge bust. So that could have ruined your fantasy team, right? So these kind of things happen all the time. If you look at the consensus picks in the first round, a lot of times, 30 to 40% of them are a bust, right? So that alone could really hinder your fantasy season. Or you could have had Breece Hall and Javonte Williams on the same team, and that ruined your fantasy season. So the fact of the matter is, if you're playing in only one league, you're really not giving yourself a fair chance, because there's just too many random things that can happen that can derail your fantasy season. And so you ultimately want to play in a minimum of 5 leagues, because the larger of a sample size you get, the more of an edge you're going to have. Because if you're playing in 5 leagues where you have an edge up on your opponents, odds are you're going to win 1 or 2 of them. But if you're only playing in 1 league, you still got to get extremely lucky to win that. So try to play in 5 or more leagues. If you can't find that many leagues, just go on the internet, search around. There's plenty of people out there that are looking for fantasy leagues that you could find on forums and everything like that. So do your best to get in a minimum of 5 leagues. That way you actually have an edge. All right, guys, appreciate you tuning in. Catch you later.